Shalom, family. This is Phil the Levite with Hebrew Nation Prepper. All right, so basically, it was put on my spirit to start a prepping channel for Hebrews and Gentiles alike, right? But there's so many prepping channels out there. There really is. But I wanted to kind of like focus more on Hebrew Nation and the Gentiles also that are in the truth and that that are under the order of Melchizedek, that believe in the first and the second stick, right? The Bible and the stick of Joseph, right? Or the book of, it's also known as the Book of Mormon. So basically, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, or Haiti, and November 1984. I had pretty peaceful childhood. I was raised by the first, 10 years of my life. I was raised mostly by my grandparents and my aunts and uncles. We all kind of lived together. And my dad left when I was pretty young he moved to the States to start his life, and, so he could bring me with him down the road. Excuse me. So everything kind of changed for me, and as a basically molded me into who I am. After the coup happened in 1991 in Haiti. Well, before I even go into the coup, I have to say, my grandmother at that time had a great influence on me. Believe it or not, even though we grew up Catholic, she was teaching me Torah, things like you shouldn't eat pork, like don't tattoo your body, no idolatry, none of that stuff. In the Catholic Church, that's all over the church. But she used to say, this isn't okay, but we're here to praise the Most High and worship, the Most High. But she knew the Torah, believe it or not, pretty well. And we did a lot of charity work. She used to bring me everywhere to do charity work, and with a different church that she used to work with, and they used to do feed the homeless and clothes, all that good good works. So then we fast forward a little bit. Then the coup, that's what kind of made me grow up very quickly when it happened in 91. I guess in Haiti, the things we have today in the States is, to me, is luxury, right? So, for example, electricity 24 hours a day, running water, hot water, right? I had a conversation with Elder Kadash months ago, and I was telling them how, when I first moved here and I got in the shower and I was taking a hot shower, I stayed in there probably an hour, because it was I've never experienced hot showers like that before, right? So the whole shower was all steamed up. And my dad and my stepmom didn't get mad, because they knew that was new to me. So all those things are kind of things we kind of in the States do they kind of take granted for if we have that luxury of having that, right? If we have a roof over our head and we have food to eat. Usually, most houses come with those things. Um, so we didn't have all that in Haiti. Every day when you cook, you would have to go to the market and shop for your food, and it was, believe it or not, it was healthier to do it that way because it was all fresh things you were literally cooking fresh food every day, but you had to wake up early, make sure you go and get what you need for the family, which was my grandparents, my aunts, and my uncles. We all kind of lived together in our home, but we ate fresh food, which was healthier, a lot healthier than how it is here. But so those are things that and that was mainly because we didn't have electricity 24/7, right? It was kind of like the new people are learning the term what happened in Texas, like the rollout blackouts. That was Haiti, right? But we were all used to that. So so the food had to be fresh. It couldn't be kept in the fridge all day. Like it just that wasn't gonna work. I grew up on powdered milk, so that was like my thing. I still like powdered milk. Some people think it's gross, but that's a whole. We'll do that in a different episode about foods and perishables and all that stuff. But anyway, so basically, when the coup happened in '91, that kind of opened my eyes up as a child. I grew up very quickly, went into survival mode. I remember my grandma, so because my grandma used to do the charity work, right? She used to get, must have been 300 pound sack of rice, or maybe 300 or 400 pound sack of rice, right? And she used to have tons of saltfish, and she would basically divvy it up and to the homeless and cans, right? And that's how there would be rice and saltfish, and that's how she would give it out. So a week before the coup happened, we must have had probably 400 pounds of rice in our house and tons of saltfish, right? And on the 29th of September, the coup happened. So when the coup happened, I just remembered it was a lot of chaos. The burning tires. Okay, if most of you guys have seen Black Hawk Down, remember the scene when the helicopters are coming in and the way they signaled, the Somalis signaled that the army was coming they had set the tires on fire on the street. Well, it was literally that was just imagine Haiti and the tires. It was exactly like that. But but the reason why that was happening then was the people that had elected the president were obviously pissed off, and so they were, and then they were going against the military, the Haitian army, so they would set the tires on fire, just kind of to throw off their, I guess, their route. But there was a lot of violence happening. A lot of people died. I don't want to get too graphic in terms of what people were doing, because I'll try and keep it so kids can watch this too. But you could just think of some of the most evil thing that another person can do to another brother right? And that's murdering them and physically murdering them. Um, but that's something that happens all around the world, right? But for me, I remember specifically thinking like, everything got shut down. My grandma like went into like, I used to pray with her too. She went into prayer. I mean, like, she can pray. She can pray. Um, one specific thing I remember was the night, one like maybe a few nights after the coup happened. Um, Basically, there was a light armored vehicle, but it had like it was one of those light armored vehicles that had like a turret, like it carried like a tank turret on it, but it was it had the six wheels, and but for some crazy reason, man, that light armored vehicle stopped in front of our house, and we used to live on a third floor. It stopped, and it parked in the corner of the street because we used to live on the main street in Haiti, and that was like Delma, right? And bro, for some reason, the soldier parked this in the middle, like in the corner of the street, and the turret was like pointing right at our house. Say like our house was up there, and this was the corner street. It like parked, and turret just went up on the third floor. And I just remember my grandma was praying like no other person has prayed before, and I think that's one of the deciding like factors when I realized how important prayer is, because she prayed nonstop, and it's not like we could have left the house and ran anywhere because those soldiers were killing people. So we just stayed put, and next morning they left. And I remember thinking how powerful prayer is then. So now, as the coup's going on, obviously no one's going out because they're, clashing. The civilians and the military is clashing. So we were stuck in our house. And I remember thinking we had plenty of food, right? Plenty of food, but very limited amount of water. So limited that I specifically remembered that my aunt wasn't showering for days, right? But I got to shower every day. And and I remember like not wanting to shower, and I feeling so like guilty and like selfish that I got to shower and that she couldn't, right? And I was like, no, you shower. I'm like arguing back and forth with her. I'm fine. She's like, no, you shower. So, she ended up, listening to the dope. I ended up showering, right? So that was one thing I remember. We didn't have a lot of water. So that's why episode 1 of Prepper, Hebrew Nation Prepper, we're going to start with a water filter. And then as we go on, episode 2, 3, we'll talk about food and free energy, how to cook. Obviously, because in Haiti we didn't have electricity, we cook with charcoal or propane. So that was one of the ways we cooked. So now you know a little bit about me and why I started prepping. Was what I experienced, and I realized like you never know what's gonna happen. Especially now we're living in the last days. I really believe that you can have all the faith in the world, right? I want you guys to hear this. You can have all the faith in the world, but it's very unwise for any person in the truth and that will say, I don't have to do anything, the Most High's got me. That's just not a wise thing to say. And I'll use stories in the scriptures to tell you why that's unwise to say the Most High's got me, I don't have to prep. We'll go back before the flood. Noah was probably one of the OG preppers. Like, he probably like was the first one to show people and tell people how to prep, if you really think about it, right? Because this was pre-flood, and this man was warning people that there was a flood coming for over 100 years, and he was prepping for that long before the flood. So Noah was a prepper, right? Because the Most High told him that he should get ready and start prepping. They didn't say prepping, but you know. And then we'll go after the flood, and we'll go to Joseph, and how Joseph was a big time prepper for the famine that was coming in the land of Egypt. And see, none of these brothers was like, you know, the Most High's got me, I don't have to store any food, I don't have to store any water, I don't have to, you know, I don't know, have my sword, you know, because the Most High's got me. Like, that's unwise to do that. To me, it kind of goes back to kind of like when the Most High says, "Don't tempt him," right? To me, it reminds me of like when you say stuff like that, you're kind of tempting the Most High. So we should be prepared in these last days, you know, especially if you have the fullness of the gospel. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. So episode 1, we're gonna start with a water filter, with water. Some of us say that's the Holy Spirit, right? The water. So let's get started with this thing. So for my family, we decided that we wanted to get a water filter. So before I even go into the water filter, so if you have the ends meet to buy a whole home water system, then do it. If you got that money to do that, I would do that, because you shower with it, and you don't have, and you can literally, you could drink the water, and it filters all, and y'all know what they put in the townships, what they add in these waters. You know, that's nothing new to anyone, at least people that are semi-aware of, you know, how this wicked world works, right? So if you can afford a whole home system, get it. That's what, but we can't afford that. We're talking about a few $1,000s here. So we went, you know, I would say the cheap man's way, but even honestly, even this is like kind of pricey. But the way we looked at it is, you know, it's a few $100s, but the way we looked at it is, you know, water is like one of the very important things that we need to survive. And, you know, elder Ayah will say things like, I know there's fluoride in that water, I have to repeat this over and over. Like, that's the truth, you know. So, you know, it's important to have good water. So but there's many different water filters on the market. But, you know, so my wife was really the one that was like, that went into like the deep research about it, about which filter to buy. So, and the Holy Spirit led us to buying this one. So this is called a Pro 1 countertop water filter. It used to be called the Pro Pure water filter, and the company changed the name to Pro 1. So I'm just gonna talk about the filters first, and then I'll talk about the different sizes they have that you could get for your home. I love these because you can bring it anywhere with you, right? Say like something happens and say like the electricity goes out for a long period of time and you can't get water through your sink or nothing like that. If you have like a river or something, you can go and get some water from the river, and this bad boy will literally filter so many different nasty stuff for you. And I'll go into the list. I have to read it because we went to like pretty good research on what it filters out, and I want to tell you guys what it is. But or like if you collect rainwater, that's another thing that I'll talk about in another episode. If you collect rainwater, you should still filter it, because they spray stuff in the sky and everything. That's a whole other story in itself. But so I'm gonna talk about the filtering system and what it filters, right? So generally, the Pro One filters 200 plus contaminants, such as organic contaminants, heavy metals, pesticides, herbicides, disinfectants, non-metallic contaminants such as chlorine and other IL's favorite to tell us to get rid of, fluoride, microcystine or cystine, which is toxins produced by fresh water blue algae, bacteria, viruses. This is a big one for me. Radioactive contaminants, microplastic, parasites, lead. In fact, the Pro One is #1 for lead removal for their product. It removes 99.99% of microplastics. No filter even comes close to that, right? Leaves a good amount of healthy minerals, right? So I have to say one of the big things is some of these filters, you gotta be careful because water has minerals in it. So sometimes the filters will strip the water of everything, and then you're gonna have to go and add minerals to it. With this one, it doesn't strip all the minerals out, which is a good thing, right? So I'll give you some of the percentage of the things that how much it reduces the percentage of it is, right? 81% of calcium, 2.5% of potassium. It doesn't remove any magnesium, which is awesome, right? The filter has the ability to remove bad odor and taste, which is like a big plus for me. The water tastes amazing. It really does. Actually, a quick story about that. So when we first got this filter, like a year ago, so sometimes the township, they will like do like I guess like a flush, like with the water system, and then like sometimes you get, I don't know, at least I've experienced this, and I'm sure many of you have, and then the water comes out looking orange and real nasty. So when I was filling it up, I didn't realize that the water was just orange and gross, right? And I'm filling it up, and basically, filled up to the top, and I'm like, yo, there's something wrong with this water. So I was gonna pour it out, but I was like, what a great way to test out this filter and see what happens, right? And it literally filtered the whole thing, came out, the water was perfectly fine. Like it was no problem. It got rid of the color and everything. It really is a good thing, a good essential product you should have in your house in these last days, right? Let's see. Okay. So the filter that has an. I'm sorry, baby. You have to. So the Pro One is one of the only filter that has an NFF certification. The NSF. I'm sorry, certification, and that stands for National Sanitation Foundation. And the last thing that I appreciate, because I like alkaline water, the filter actually increases the pH level of the water, which means it increases the alkalinity of the water. So that's those basically some of the main basic things that the filter itself does to the water, right? It filters out all these things I just said. That's what it filters out. Now remember, there's many different products, different brands on the market, but this is the one that we were led by the Holy Spirit to buy, and with the research we did, that's the one we felt like we should get for our family. And we're gonna have it's gonna be about to be a family of 6 in September. So, this is like very important to us. So now we're gonna talk about the sizes. So this is the big plus, right? It's a 3 gallon. It's a 3 gallons. The price ranges from $219.95 to $364.95, and that's for 4+ people, right? So the price difference, the reason there's the price difference like that is dependent on like the kind of finish you want, which is like the metal finish, and then you just kind of could play around with it, and then what you want, and then the price will fluctuate. And so this one, it holds up to 3 filters. We have 2 filters in there. It holds up to 3 though. You can put 3 in there if you want. And then so we have the 3 gallon one, right? And then you have the Travelers Plus, right? And that one is a 2.25 gallon. And the price for that one ranges from $199.95 to $264.95, and that's good for 1 to 3 people, right? And then the big 2 is the 2.5 gallon one, and that one is the price ranging from $139.95 to $199.95, and that's for 2 to 4 people, right? So that the big 2 is BPA free plastic. It's not, it's not the metal one. And then you have the Scout 2. That's a 0.4 gallon, and that's $69, right? So I mean, the price goes from 69 to 364. So, I think I highly recommend someone get one. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think everyone should have one of those in their house. But the more people in your family, the bigger you want to get a bigger filter, obviously. So the Scout 2 is a 0.4 gallons and 69. That's a $69.95, right? And that's for 1 person. And that one, the Scout 2, is also BPA free plastic. It's not the metal, right? And then you have the pitcher, right? And my wife really wants the pitcher. So because one of the thing about these, right? If you like cold water, I like room temperature water because it's like better for your stomach anyway. But she loves like ice water, like tons of ice, and like she just likes drinking cold water, which I like that sometimes too, but I prefer room temperature water. But she wants to get like the pitcher, because the pitcher, you can remember the old school. I mean, it's not really old school, but I feel like it's old school, like the Brita, when they used to have the pitcher, and like that was the new thing back then. So it's a pitcher, and it's the point 0.4 gallon, and that one is you know, for one person also, but you could fit it right in that fridge, which is kind of handy. I think we're probably gonna invest in one of those. And obviously that one's plastic too. And so with Pro One, their shipping is always free, so you don't have to pay for shipping. Um, Now for us, so we don't like paying, full price for anything. We really don't. So we'll like look around and shop around a little bit. Um, so we got ours actually on eBay, and it was under the scratch and dent one, and we actually got it for 230, and then it was going for 280. So we saved about like $50 or something like that. So now the thing with the filters, right? You got to replace them annually. You can get if you go on Amazon, they sell them. You buy. I would obviously recommend. Like I told you, we have 2 filters in there, and I would recommend you buy 2 filters, and you could get the 2 filters for $140. Now, some people are like, man, that's like really expensive for a filter, but you gotta remember, this lasts you a whole year. So just think about, how much, if you're a person that likes to buy like the essential water, or like just bottled water because your water at home isn't, it, down the road, if you drink like you're supposed to, drinking enough water like you're supposed to, the money factor, it's worth it, it really is. So basically that's basically it. It's I think it's one of the very things I think we should have in our house in these last days, right? Is a water filter. And obviously I believe we should also be storing water, because say like the electricity goes out for a long period of time, and then you don't have any water, what are you gonna do? Not everyone collects rainwater. We're actually gonna start. That's a project I want to start at my home, is start collecting that. But you should have water stored anyway at your house. All right. So I'm not sure. I think it's either the CDC or the WHO that said like you should have like 3 gallons of water per person for a week. So you do the math. Like you have a certain amount of people in your house. That's how many gallons per person that you should have. So that's hygiene, and basically you're not gonna really be taking a full shower. It's gonna be washing your face, armpits, right down there. So walking around funky, but either way, man, it's what's coming. What's coming. We're gonna have to cut down anyway, right? So, but like I said, you don't want to be caught off guard. Obviously, we're gonna be praying and fasting, right? And keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, so that the Most High covers us. But you also want to be. I don't think you want to be too uncomfortable either, especially if you're prepping, right? So, like I said, Noah prep, Joseph prep, and I'm sure when that famine hit Egypt and Joseph was there, he wasn't like, he wasn't super uncomfortable because he had he listened to the warnings, and even with all that happened, you saw how like he how the prophecy fulfilled with his brothers coming in the land anyway, and if he didn't prep, so that's why it's be wise, don't be the five foolish virgins, right? Be the five wise virgins, having your oil filled. That goes with that story goes with a lot of different things. It goes with preparing yourself in many different ways, right? Spiritually, physically, um, prepping, like everything. So be wise. I think that's basically it for the first episode of this, and you know, um, I hope someone learns something. I hope it at least puts it in your mind to start researching it and maybe get one for your home, for your family. And in the comment sections, no hate, right? We're gonna show love and respect and share ideas. If I see any person hating their brother or sister, you're breaking a commandment right there. So I'm just gonna delete your comment, right? So it's gonna be all love and building each other up as a nation and teaching each other, right? I don't know everything. Um, so, just let's build each other up. Let's help each other. That's the very reason why I started this channel, is because, you know, kind of spread out the knowledge I'm gaining through the Holy Spirit. That me and my wife and my family are learning as we're going. So I figured, well, if we're doing this, we're walking the walk with the prepping thing, then I might as well, share what I'm learning. I'm not gonna keep it all to myself. Like, I'm doing this, I'm not gonna tell nobody. Like, I don't think that's right. So this is the first thing: water. You want a good water filtering system, and you definitely want to have water stored in your house already, just in case. You never know, you know. And I gave you the testimony of what happened when I was in Haiti. So water is the first thing I think you should have in your house when it comes to prepping. And then, like I said, in episode 2, we're probably gonna talk about food and free energy when it comes to cooking and all that stuff, and what you should have if you want to cook. But episode 2 will be coming soon. I love you guys. You guys have a blessed day or a blessed night wherever you're at. Shalom, and much love, much respect, and I will see you guys in episode 2. Shalom.